Hello. Welcome to this nighttime taste challenge. Let me open the shades. How dark it is still. Yeah, it's still dark, but I think there's a glint of dawn coming, but not much. Okay, I have two 40% alcohol blended Irish whiskeys. This is Kavanagh, Brett Kavanagh. Kavanagh finest blended Irish whiskey. Well, you ever notice that every whiskey is the best and the finest? Distilled, blended, and matured in Ireland. Does not say bottled in Ireland, though. I think it's bottled in the United States. It's from Teeling Distillery. They make the famous Teeling. Imported by Serenity Imports, Stamford, Connecticut. A lot of this cheaper, if you want to call it, which is what it is, Irish whiskey and Scotch is actually bottled in the U.S. I guess it's cheaper to send it in bulk. I mean, look at Paddy's. Paddy's, also known as Paddy, and some of the older bottles said Paddy, but whatever. That one is one of your better known brands, best known brands from Ireland, and it's bottled in at Low Trace in Kentucky. So Kavanagh was introduced in 2016. It's from Teeling Distillery. And I get the impression, but I could be wrong, but I get the impression that it is mainly or totally produced for Total Wine and More as a private label. I don't know that for sure, but I get that impression because I don't think I've seen it anywhere else. They got the purple label. Now there's other versions of it. There's like the single grain, which is like a gray label, single malt, which is like green or something. All they're doing is taking the total blend and they're dividing it into parts and selling it like it's something special. Like, oh, here's single grain. That's just the grain that they put, grain whiskey they put into the blend. And then the single malts they put into the blend and make it seem special. And then you buy all three. But I fell for that one time with the busker, but I didn't mind because it was only $10 on closeout at Walmart. And I tried the single grain. It's okay. It's like, it's incomplete. It tastes incomplete, and it is incomplete. But you know, $10, no big loss, honestly. But these are paid the regular price, which is still low. Oh yeah, O'Neill's. I didn't show it. O'Neill's introduced, don't know when, can't find trademark data. Strangely, it doesn't even indicate that it's trademarked. There's nothing on here that says registered trademark United States Patent Office. So they might have just decided to take the risk, don't bother trademarking it, and figure nobody would copy it. You know, you don't have to get a trademark, but you can't say somebody stole your trademark because you didn't get one. But anyway, finest spirit. It's from West Cork Distillery, which is a real distillery. It's not an alias name. And they have a lot of brands. If you look on their website, many brands, all different ages, different single malts, different blends. I think even single grains is all of this. But they don't list this one, O'Neill's. So I get the impression that this one is also a private label, a store brand, if you want to call it, for Total Wine and More. Can't back that up, except with the circumstantial evidence. Max Walt, good morning, Ron. Good morning to you, Max Walt, and the Russian Federation. Got viewers from Russia, man, all over the world watching. Paris, France. Now, one of these is lighter, but I don't know which one it is. It's a little more amber. This one's a little more copper, but they're close. So I shouldn't have to close my eyes. I will turn on the lamps. I'm not going to stay in the dark. But when I do dawn busters, I'll wait till the daylight comes in. But it's going to take so long now with this later in the season daylight savings time business that it's not practical to do it. I mean, I could just wait till dawn, but then I got other stuff I'd like to do. Okay. Do a screen share and I'll show you. So Total Wine and More. Let's look up their Irish whiskey. Irish whiskey. Every time I get on Total Wine, they keep showing these two brandies. We think you would like these two brandies, 1889 and the Classic Club. But I have those already. I don't know why they keep trying to get me to buy them. I have them, and I have an account with this company. See, it's got my name, so they should know what I bought. They even have a record of your purchase, so you can get rewards. But it's funny, their rewards are like, it's like you got to spend $1 and you get like a $10 discount. It's not really much. It's not really worth it. But I mean, it doesn't cost anything to be on it, so I just do it. Aggy about stuff. But all right, so you can get little tiny bottles like these things they're showing. Proper number 12 for $1.99. Not a good value per ounce. But you might just want to try it. But you can barely even try it. That's such a small bottle. You barely, by the time you start tasting it, the bottle's gone. I do need to get Bailey's. I guess if one should say the word need, I don't need to buy any liquor, but Bailey's, I've never reviewed the original Bailey's. Honestly, I've never even tasted it. I've tasted some Bailey's variants, though. Some prove it tastes like Bailey's is like the one that started. It was actually commercial Irish cream liqueur. True story. 1974. Then Carolyn's was the second, 79. Well, now it's everybody that's got a liquor company makes an Irish cream liqueur, right? And most of them are good. I really never had a bad one. I had a few that were kind of dull. All right, so there you go. O'Neill's is the cheapest Irish whiskey you can buy. More, $14.99. I think I paid $15.99 though when I bought it. They dropped the price. And I thought all the prices would go up. And they had a thing on CBS. No, remember CBS News on the hour saying a report saying that the tariff price thing is more bark than bite. Been more bark than bite. Like they made a big thing about how it was going to really raise the prices, but then the experts were saying, well, nothing really happened. All right, Kavanagh Irish whiskey, $15.99. So $1 more. I think I paid $17.99. Hey, wait a minute. Why are these prices dropping? Iden Stills. It's on sale right now, $15.99, and I paid more. I get any of these on the sale. Two gingers, $16.99. Yeah, I got that for $14.99 at international market. It's gone up $1.50. No, it's gone up 50 cents. Okay, now Ryan's is not really Irish. It's Irish style cream liqueur. It's not made in Ireland. It's from Kentucky, but they make it taste like an Irish cream liqueur. But they're listing it here on the Irish whiskeys, but if you read the bottle, it just says Irish style. And you can get, I can still find Ryan's for $9.99 in some places. It's always the cheapest one, usually. As well, they don't have to ship it across the ocean. It's made in Kentucky. And it's really popular around New Orleans, Ryan's. There's always somebody running a sale, especially when it gets cold, during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. You can invariably, you'll have some store running it for $9.99. And man, people snap that stuff up, especially for like Christmas parties and whatnot. Things like that, New Year's Eve parties. They've bloated at Ryan's. Okay, and y'all probably know about it. And it might be popular where you live. I don't know. Of course, Bailey's, who can argue with that? That's the #1 popular one. But it costs $26, $27. That's the issue. You know, it's you're paying for the name mostly. And some people are not going to deviate. You know, they drink Bailey's and that's all they buying. Don't give me that substitute brand. Even though they probably never tried the substitute brand and they probably couldn't even tell it apart in a blind taste test. You know, I don't know that, but some people say Caroline's is better because it uses a higher percentage of Irish whiskey, not neutral spirits. They say that Bailey's use a big percentage of neutral spirits. It's the whiskey that wasn't aged yet. It's just raw. Doesn't seem to hurt the popularity. They just put that in there anyway for the alcohol base. You know, the flavor is mostly going to come from the doggone sugar and cream, dairy cream. Irish whiskey Irish whiskey to start with is very mild, so it's a perfect Irish cream whiskey. It's so mild, you see. Some people say bland. I know some people don't like Irish whiskey, and they never tell me, "Oh, I don't like it because it's nasty," or "I hate the flavor." That's never the complaint. It's always they don't like it because they don't think it has much flavor. They say, "I drink Scotch," you know. But everybody that buys whiskey does not want a bold flavor, okay? Let's be honest. A lot of people like mild flavors. If you want to say it's bland or dull, they like bland flavors. Well, all right. As before, Louisiana has a reputation for spicy hot food, and there is that here. But when more and more people have moved into Louisiana from other states, more cultural diffusion, you don't really see too much of that super hot food anymore. Most people just have it not hot. And if you get it and they say hot, it ain't really hot. You know, like Popeyes used to have chicken called hot and mild. When the old man owned it, the man who started it. But then he got into financial trouble trying to buy churches. He did buy it, but he couldn't pay the bill. So he sold the whole company, but he did keep the recipe company. The Copeland's it was a chicken laboratory where they experiment, and he owned the blend, the recipe blend. So his sons still make a lot of money off of it because they sell the spice mix to Popeyes. So they have control of that. So that's important. But after he sold it, just in a quick example, Popeyes went from hot and mild to spicy and mild. And Church's has spicy now. But I think if you gave somebody Church's spicy, they wouldn't even notice. They would think they were eating the mild. Like there's not much difference with it. It's a little bit, but it's so minimal. Popeyes, same thing. It's got a little kick to it, but it's just so small. Back in the 80s and 70s, when they had Popeyes hot, believe me, it was hot. As a little kid, I couldn't stand it. You know, it was like, oh, it's too hot. But now I'll be craving that, you know. And they had Danny's fried chicken around here. I don't know how far that goes. They still have it like more south of here toward Houma, toward the Gulf. But that was pretty hot, you know. But like I say, that's 50 years ago. Now it might be as dull. Well, most people drink Bud Light, says Tab. Yeah, or Michelob Ultra. Not full of flavor, but they love it. So you can't discount that. And I think a lot of people in the beer and liquor tasting community making videos and all, they have this mindset, you see, that everything's got to be Super Bowl, everything got to be high proof. Oh yeah, barrel proof. Well, yeah, that's cool. And you like it. I got to get old granddad 114, you know, or whatever. But that's not too many people, you see. But if that's all you affiliate with, like the only people you talk to online, the only people you taste liquor with, is if it's all Super Bowl flavor, high proof people, then you get this idea, that everybody wants that. And we call that confirmation bias, where you only deal with the ideas that you agree with. So then you say, see, other people agree, but it's not, but you're intentionally only entertaining those concepts. And look how common that is with politics. And we call it affiliation. People will affiliate with people they agree with. And then that's their whole world. And they get a comprehension that everybody agrees with that. I try to be open-minded, That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with somebody, but I won't like totally block them off and pretend they don't exist. I just say, well, that's an interesting idea about it, but I don't agree with it. I think we need less fanaticism and more thinking, not a popular age, I guess. Don't even get me started on Facebook. Okay. I was very shocked at first yesterday when I got Drumcastle confused with O'Neill's. But then when I thought about it more, I said, wait a minute. What am I shocked about? Because when I first tried Drumcastle years ago, 9 years ago now, I think, right when it came out, I found that it had odd peaty quality. It was peaty, whereas Irish whiskey typically is not. And then I had kind of forgot about that, I guess. And then so I got it mixed up wrong. So I've gotten it right 6 times series, and I got it wrong twice. So 6 wins, 2 losses. So do the best I can. Now this one over here has a peaty note. I'm thinking O'Neill's. This one doesn't. In fact, it doesn't really have any notes. The aroma is of, well, nothing. So you can't say it smells bad. It doesn't smell. Oh yeah, you're not supposed to say smell. In the liquor world, you say, I'm going to nose it. Yeah, I'm kind of getting that peaty quality. It's minimal now. Don't think, oh, all right, man, I love peaty whiskey. I'm going to run and get it. No. It's nothing like that. It's just a glimmer of it, but it's present, so you pick it up. I mean, I am picking it up. This is 67% grain whiskeys, but it's 33% single malt. Most of these is 80-20 or 80-20, 80% grain, and they put 20% single malt to give it some flavor. But this one is higher. It's 33%, so it's got more flavor. And it's aged in ex-bourbon barrels, typical thing. Nothing new there, but it's finished in double-charred oak. They take a barrel and they char it, boom. But then they char it again, wham, and double flame it, get it really burnt, normally. And so it picks that up. It's not like phenomenally different. It's just a little different. Okay. If there's 25 Irish whiskeys on the shelf, it would make sense to differentiate yourself, right? Make something a little different because it's all kind of like all the same thing. And like the Drumcastle was finished in wine barrels. Gives a little difference. Not much, but a little bit. This one is so regular. It has a little creaminess, has a little vanilla, has a little sugar, because I find whiskey tastes like sugar water. They're both medium bodied, have a dry finish, so that's not anything different. So are these vastly different one to another? Not really vastly different, but there are differences. The price is $1 difference. I've only seen them at Total Wine and More. So like I say, it might be a captive brand. You may not see it at your local liquor store unless they do an overflow. I was reading about private label. They can allow overflow. In other words, if they got too much and they could sign off to the distributor. Okay, you could sell some to the other stores, but we don't want to make a habit of that. So, I mean, I don't think you're going to see great value anywhere else, right? You're not going to go and find great value bread at another store because Walmart's very protective of their private label. They don't play that. They don't play that too much. But I did see a Walmart Caliber brand whiskey at another store once. Caliber, once, not a bunch. They had 2 big bottles of Caliber, and I was like, isn't that a Walmart brand? But I was clearly at Rouse's, and it ain't owned by Walmart. I like it. And I scored it an A, and somebody off air was dinging me saying, man, you gave that store brand an A. You give everything an A. Well, I don't give everything an A. I just did a beta called Bourbon Street Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout. It's expensive, so don't think you're going to get it cheap, because you definitely are not going to get it cheap. It's almost $5 a can. Now they have it in these tall cans, 16-ounce can. Used to sell in those bombers. Remember back when they sell beer in the bombers, 22-ounce. And I think my local store had it for $10.99, and I'm talking about when it first hit the market 10 years ago. Well, it was 2013. Yeah, well, that was about the time, 12 years ago. It was like $10.99. I was like, why would I ever pay $10.99 for a bottle of beer? I'm not crazy. You know, unless it's the most special thing in the world. And but my friend had it, and we tried it, and I can't remember what we said about it. I think we liked it, but I'm going to watch my video again. But I never wrote a written review because we just tried it, we shared it, and I've just kind of forgot about it. But they make that beer whenever they feel like making it, which is basically never. But this year they felt like making it. And so they might have got a deal on some bourbon barrels. So they put it out. I was shocked to see it on the shelf, and I bought it, and I was like, didn't I have this before? And then it came back to me. But now it might be 7 more years before you see it again. But I gave that a B plus. I gave it a B plus. So how do I give everything an A if that was a B plus? Explain that. Kavanagh. Okay, so the scores, I do give this an A. I like it. It's really good. It's a little different. Over here, I like the creaminess of it. It's like cream, like a cream liqueur in some ways. Obviously not, but I like it. I think Kavanagh is good. Now, I mean, if you don't agree, just don't buy it. You're not under a compulsion to buy these things because I say I like it. I'm gonna go with an A minus. It's not a fabulous thing, but let's say 9 out of 10 for $15.99. I got it. Did you hear? I got it. Well, that was easy because it didn't have the peaty note. And this one, like I say, it's just a glimmer of it. So for about $30 plus tax, for about $30 plus tax, you can buy 2 full-size bottles of Irish whiskey at Total Wine & More, and you could potentially or probably enjoy them. Can't really complain about it. Now, do I have more coming? Yeah, sure do. By the time I finish this challenge, I don't know if I'm not going to have a whole lot of O'Neill's left, but I'll have a good amount. When I did my last Canadian whiskey challenge, I couldn't even finish the challenge. I ran out of whiskey. I went through that Tennessee Crown Club, and it was all gone. Because I got so many Canadian whiskeys that if I bring in a bottle, it's not going to make it through the challenge because it's too many Canadian whiskeys in my collection. It sucks it all up. And man, I got these handles. I got all these handles of Canadian whiskey, these big bottles. So they don't ever run out, and then you bring in a poor old little regular bottle, it can't make it through. But you get a pretty good idea of where it stands when you get through the challenge, though. But I've got Bushmills Red Bush coming up next, and that was a great product. They aged it in bourbon barrels, I think, for 5 years. They used to put that on the website to age, but then suddenly they stopped doing it. But they introduced that in 2017. They made a big thing out of it. Didn't look like it went over too well. I don't know why. But last year it was dropped off the website, which means I think it's discontinued. They don't refer to it anymore. They used to talk about it in their history. They would say in 2017 we introduced the fabulous Red Bush and go on about it. But then they discreetly, quietly dropped any reference to it on their website, which that what does that tell you, right? Um, but man, when they started to drop it and get rid of it, some of these stores sold it for pennies on $1. I bought a whole bottle for $9.99. True story. And it was all gone. And then my friend David found more bottles for $9.99. He's like, you ought to buy, you ought to buy. I said, well, I've experienced it. It's very nice, but we have to move forward in our lives. But he just couldn't stand that I didn't buy it, so he gave it to me as a gift. He gave me one last year as a gift. It was a great gift, $9.99. So now I got almost a full bottle. Now here's Walmart, which is strange, because Walmart's usually the first to close out anything for nothing. But there's Walmart over there, still selling it for the full price, like $26 a bottle. But I guess they probably got a huge backstock of it, still moving. So $27, 20, I think it's 25. Wouldn't pay that much, but I mean, golly gee, I wasn't even looking for it. I wasn't looking for that product. I was not looking for Bushmills Red Bush. I didn't know about it. But when I saw it on the shelf and it said $9.99, I'm like, I'm interested now. I think that's going to be a good challenge, but I don't think I'll get them mixed up, because the Bushmills Red Bush tastes like bourbon oriented Irish whiskey, which is what it was created to be. And this one tastes like peaty Irish whiskey, which obviously it was created to be. I paid $7.50 at Total Wine for a single pint of Equilibrium MC2. It wasn't worth it. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's a beer. Hey, look, don't feel bad, because half the time, well, maybe more than half the time, I pay sky-high prices for beers, and they do not justify the price. You taste it, and it's like, oh, it's really nice, but it's not worth no $7. It's not worth $7 a can, or usually a can these days. Oh, it's a New England IPA. Oh no, not again. I tried the Heady Topper. I tried the Focal Banger. Somebody sent them to me. Asked me. They approached me. I didn't ask for it. He said, would you like to try Heady Topper Focal Banger? Who's going to turn that down? I said, yeah, I've heard about these. People say it's a legend and all of this. I was very excited. And I loved it. I gave them very high scores, because I don't even really like that style. But those were really dynamite. But even with that, I'm thinking, I didn't say it on camera, but I'm thinking, I'm glad I didn't buy it. Because I know the price is exorbitant. And I'm just thinking that. I'm glad I didn't buy it. And I remember years ago, people would go, they would release it, and they would wait for like 3 hours outside the brewery to get it. And it was like a big deal. And then you couldn't buy it only there. And it was like special. It was like a Saturn. Remember when they came out with the Saturn? It was like a club, and people would be like going to these Saturn festivals. That didn't last. But they were trying to create like a car cult, not a cargo cult, a car cult. But it didn't pan out like they thought, and they never made any money off of it. Like, I was reading an article when they discontinued Saturn in 2010. The last model year was 2010 for like one vehicle. They said they never made a single dollar off of it. Not a single. It was never any profit. So as it turns out, it was a fiasco, and one of the things that helped bankrupt the company. Well, they got restarted. Remember, GM got restarted in 2009, 2010, 2011, but they went down to the bottom. And that was one of the things dragged them down. But it was just a concept. You can't really criticize them for that, because they didn't know what was going to happen. They just tried it. They tried it. But but like with the beers, I've had so many experiences where it's like, oh, this amazing beer, I heard so much about it, and I taste it. I'm like, it's great, but it's not really amazing. Now, Pliny the Elder, that really was amazing. Now, I got to say that. People always ask me, what's your favorite IPA? I instantly reply, Pliny the Elder. You know, just what's your favorite stout? Oh, I like Narwhal, Old Rasputin, which I cannot get either one, which is a disgusting thing these days. I can get some good stouts, but nothing like that. Okay. Well, it was fun, enjoyable for me at least. So check back for Wednesday. Bushmills Red Bush introduced in 2017 versus O'Neill's introduced sometime in history. Nobody knows. I can't find out. Ought to ask artificial intelligence. I find a lot of mistakes in that AI though, man. They spell Teeling wrong. I like to ask history questions to AI because it gives us so much bad information. Like it gives just like blatantly inaccurate information. I just laugh at that. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's just fun in a way to go through it and just see how many things it'll get wrong. You say, well, that's human error. Like the HAL 9000, remember? It was the first, remember that movie from 1968 where it was like like it was like a preview of artificial intelligence from 57 years ago. The movie was about, largely about, not totally about, artificial intelligence. And then the computer said, well, I can't think, but I mimic this series of computer mimics intelligence, mimics cognitive ability. In other words, it's not really thinking, it's just programmed to mimic that. So they're very clearly in the movie. It's mimicking thinking. But then the machine broke. And it started having all these errors. And they asked the machine, what's going on? And it was like, oh, well, this has always been attributed to human error. They said, really? Because they cross-checked the computer's results with their HAL 9000 back in Houston, Texas. And they said, no, the computer here is working fine. It's showing that it's making an error. Or then they panicked, you know, because their whole mission, or at least they thought, their whole mission was relying on this artificial intelligence computer to run the spaceship, and the thing broke. And he's like, and the computer's like, I hope you're not worried about this. They said, oh, not at all, Hal. But you see on their face, they're like panicking, you know. All right. So that's a very early kind of fictionalized account of what they thought would happen, artificial intelligence. But it didn't happen in 2001. The movie was doing a lot of wishful thinking, you know. They're going to go to Jupiter in 2001. Well, the novel said Saturn, but same premise, you know, the computer broke. And then if you read the novel, it explains the movie. The movie doesn't really make sense unless you read the novel, but it's a little short 95-page book. It's supposed to, the concept was people would go to the movie and they would buy the book and read it, and it would explain the movie. But I don't think too many people bought the book. But I went to the library and got it, and it was saying that they programmed it, and it broke because they programmed it incorrectly. Because they programmed it to tell a lie to the astronauts of why they were on the mission. So in other words, it told them, we're on the mission for this reason, but it wasn't really the reason, because they figured if they told them the truth, they wouldn't go on the mission. So it was programming the computer to make an error being a lie, meaning an error, right? An outcome that wasn't true. So it started making it malfunction, basically, and then everything went haywire. And that's what the movie's about, everything going haywire. But they didn't care anyway. NASA did. If you watch the movie, NASA didn't really care, because the whole point was to send them out there to see if somebody could go into the monolith. As it turned out, that was what the mission was about. Go into this thing and see what it's doing. What is this thing doing? Well, nobody was going to go out there and go into this thing not knowing what it was, what it was a, what you call that? not a black hole, but a wormhole, what they call that in science fiction, a wormhole. I mean, no astronaut was going to do that, you know. So that they got what they wanted. He went into it, you know, but they had to trick him. But then the computer broke, and then it was like a whole complicated thing. And that movie reminded me of a movie they made 11 years later, Alien, which was like the same premise. It's like literally they just stole the movie, because the whole premise of Alien was they sent these people on a mission, but that wasn't really the mission. The mission was to get this creature, and if it killed all the crew, oh well, it didn't matter. The mission was to bring this creature back to Earth so they could use it as a warfare weapon, you know, advanced weapon technology. Okay, but they didn't realize Sigourney Weaver was smarter than they were. But you know, Ripley. But I was thinking, well, that's the same story. They send people on a mission. They tell them a cover story is not really what it's about, and then in the first movie they get what they want. He goes into the thing. The second movie, you got one person that doesn't go along with it, and she kind of botches their whole mission, and they don't get their creature to do advanced weapon technology research, but in development. But it was basically the same, kind of like the same movie. All right, but anyway, I don't even really watch movies. I can't stand movies. Most of them are horrible. And you kind of watch a movie, and in like the first 10 minutes, you know what's going to happen. It's like, I know he's going to go crazy. Like The Shining. Like, you know, when the movie starts, this guy, well, he doesn't really have to go crazy, because you can see he's already crazy or just bad, you know, like a bad guy. So it's just kind of like, well, let me just see how he goes crazy, because you kind of know he's going to go crazy or go berserk, or what you say, not crazy, but violent. Well, he was already that way. But anyway, I don't know. I never watch movies, y'all. I watch video reviews. Oh, me. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Cheers to I just watched Alien, says Tab. Well, if you watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, you're going to realize where the alien people got their ideas from. The winner, I think, is O'Neill's. A little bit better, but it's not much better, but a little bit better. All right, thanks. Sorry for going long, but I was just thinking out loud, you know. I'm saying out loud what I think in private, sort of like. All right, bye. See y'all later. Take care, everybody.